I'm Mary Crowley, and this is Mostly Arts. I have as my guest today Judith Reilly, who is an artist with many different kinds of products. She is a maker, a doer, and she is going to share with you some of her life story as well as some of her art. Judith, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm just delighted to be here, Mary.
Good. Can you tell us who you are?
I can. This is brand new. This is such a lovely awakening for me. Just in the last few months, I've been asked to dig back and find my story, and it's just interesting, the timing on it all coming together.
Right.
And about a few weeks ago, 30 students, art club students from Virgins came to visit me, and I was going to say, I'm a fiber artist, and this is my gallery. And I thought, wow, I am so much more than a fabric artist. And so I began to think about and made a list for them of who I was. And I can, in 1 minute.
And who you are.
And who I am. And so, because I wasn't raised knowing I was an artist, it took a really, really long time, late into my 30s, before I actually acknowledged, self-knowledge that that's who I was. So this is what I told them. I am a fabric artist, but I am also a painter, a potter, a doodler, a basket weaver, a puppet and a doll maker, a designer, a paper mache artist, a seamstress, a collage artist, and a journal writer, etc. I'm also a cook, a gardener, a lawnmower, a laundress, a housekeeper, a reader, a music lover, a hiker, a lake lover, a camper, a house painter, a picture straightener, a toilet bowl cleaner, an overseer, a window washer, an organizer, a cookie and bread baker, and an apple pie maker, etc. And I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a churchgoer, a traveler, a caregiver, a peacemaker, a friend, and a woman of faith. But then I realized this is the doing part.
Right.
Where's the heart? Where's the thought behind it? So then I came to the understanding and told them that I was an independent thinker, a listener, an observer, an imaginer, an experimenter, an explorer, a contemplator, and even an appreciator, which as an artist, I know without them, we would be without the sharing, right, which is one of the most important parts. So,
all right, so
that's the thick of it.
You are a creator now, but you were a maker and creator as you were growing up. How about talking about your growing up years?
I truly was. Mary's been laughing at how young I was when I began to wash the dishes. When I could stand, when I could reach the sink on a chair, it was my job. I grew up on a dairy farm, and I really thought that I was being prepared to be a farmer's wife, and that I was going to have 5 sons, and this was going to be my life. And I was preening for that, and self-preening for that. And it was responsibilities my parents and family gave me, and I took it on and loved it. I loved every minute of it and swore I'd never marry a farmer because it's such hard work and it's constant. And so instead of marrying a farmer, I married a businessman and had a completely different life, and one that allowed me, I was perfectly, totally incapable of earning a living because I was a 50s wife. That's what I was raised to be. And I married a man who was able to allow me never have to be gainfully employed ever again, which is a really cool gift.
So you could develop your gift.
Yes. Yes, so I started to take classes, and then I came into, at all different medium, came into quilt making, absolutely loved it. Got down to the point where we were making geometric pattern bed coverings, and that's why I don't use the word quilt maker in my work, because that's what it conjures up, and that's not what I do. But I got to the point where a friend would say, oh good, I made the first block, I know how to make the next one, and I'd say, I made that one. I'm not making that again. And it was that kind of a nudge to go into something what can I do next? What would happen if? And that's just still, I'm just passionately curious about the possibilities. And I'm always latching on to some other way to find out how things are made and how you can be creative. And
well, and along those lines, you brought a friend.
I did bring a friend. Part of my journey took me to working with a television program in Boston for just a couple years. And this is, I'll put him down here. This is, I made and puppeteered the bears on the show. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
This is Honey, and Honey was really a fabulous little puppet. And he has 3 or 4 brothers that were on the show at the same time.
Oh.
And but I would puppeteer them under the table, and we were worked in green screen. So you enjoyed it? No, you didn't. And the reason is that no is a lot easier to say for a puppet because of the way the sticks are in the back.
Can he say yes? Yes.
Carefully.
All right, so that's just one of your creations.
That's just one of my creations.
All right. You weren't afraid to try to take classes in different kinds of
Oh, that's
mediums.
the most fun because paper mache came into, I took a class with a dear friend several years ago, and it's the designing of the figures turned out, I should have brought it, it's a black piece and it's all in thread in positive negative space, totally inspired by a paper mache class.
Okay.
And then 12 years later, I spent some time with her again, and now we have the paper mache pieces that we have here today.
Well, you lived in 3 different states and then came to Vermont.
Yes,
and
right.
then life changed, right?
Yeah, yes, it was moving to Vermont. I was a quilt maker before I came to Vermont. I was a teacher and a lecturer, and I traveled, and I did quite a few international competitions and would do well at them. One was best of show in an international competition in Pennsylvania, and that same piece, this is the middle 1990s, the same piece went to another international competition in Paducah, Kentucky, and it got absolutely no acknowledgement whatsoever.
Okay.
And it changed how I thought about what I was doing. Was I focusing on what was winning, or was I focusing on who I was and what I wanted to do? So that was a huge shift. And a few years later, I moved to Vermont, and that was, it's a slamming paradigm shift, because they saw me as the artist that was in there.
Well, you said something to me about the Brandon Artists Guild.
The Brandon Artists
people
Guild,
there
they just
thought you were an artist.
Totally embraced me, and saw the work as the art that I now realize that it is.
Right.
Which was, and I've been working with them, that's 21 years ago. And I'm still enjoying their company, their inspiration, their partnership, their support of one another. It's just an incredible organization. And
It is.
to have the privilege of being part of it and watching it grow is really, really special. They made me an artist. They also made me realize it was an artist. But they also made me a painter. They gave me challenges.
Well, do you want to share this
Yes,
now? This is not necessarily what you do all the time.
No, but it got me going.
Right.
They did the Palettes of Vermont. I'm not sure exactly.
Can you
the
hold
year.
it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2007, 8, something like that. And so we got to
And this is called Judith's
Judith's Flying Circus.
And there are they crows? That's what
They're crows, and they're in this wonderful circus. They're also,
There it is.
It's a good place to see the bicycles, because in 2006, I saw a...
Can you keep holding it up?
Sure.
Okay.
There we go. I saw this little bicycle in a postcard, and I thought, that's cute, and I stitched it into a little house I'd been making, and I went, wow. It turned the house into a home. Somebody lives here, somebody loves this place. Right. it was another paradigm shift, and now it's part of my signature. It's in everything I make, and maybe not where you expect to find it. That's kind of the fun.
Right, it is fun.
It's to find it. Find it. So we'll put
All
that
right,
down.
let's talk about this piece right here.
This is the girl with the purple hair. And this came from a doodle drawing. I don't have that drawing with me, but I do love to doodle. And it's just really
Yeah, the
fun.
camera will, if you keep holding it.
Yeah, it'll swoop in. I just squiggle and then
So in other
fill
words,
up in the
you might
paces.
on the paper just go
Exactly.
make lines.
Make lines, squiggle lines.
There, wait,
And-
can you hold it? Can you see the
I'm just-
there?
Yeah, get that.
That's it.
Yeah. There we
There,
go.
that's perfect, yes.
Yeah. Let's move it. And then I just fill in the spaces. And then this one is similar to it. Got to and get the light just
And
right.
there's a car, there are cars, there are trees, there's a neighborhood. There's some sections that are just filled in with patterns.
Just pattern.
Anybody can do that.
Anybody can do this.
Right.
What was fun about the children who came from the art club was that I showed them how to do this, and they went home, and I got an email from the teacher who brought them, and she said, at lunchtime, they're all doodling.
Oh, good.
I thought,
All right, they weren't on their phones.
They were, yes. I thought that was just really fun.
All right, so the pen and ink drawings. I have a pen and ink drawing done by, I think it was first or second grader. And it's very primitive.
Yeah.
It's not like yours. But nonetheless, he just filled in the spaces all over the piece of paper.
It's just so much fun, and
Right.
it's a in the moment experience.
Right.
And we need more of those.
Right.
Because this is it. This is the moment we get, and we can waste it worrying or imagining or regretting, or we can live in the fullness of its potential. And it's really
And
something.
find the joy. That was
And
one of the
find the
things.
joy of it. And I think maybe we can talk about. Do you want to talk about the life
Yes,
lessons?
let's talk about life lessons.
The yellow
Judith
paper.
Reilly's life lessons.
Yes.
But there are quotes from people that
Yes.
many of us have heard of.
This was about early 1990s, and I was asked to do a retrospective talk of my work to a group of traditional quilt makers. And I went through the photos because we didn't have digital then, we just had photos. And I went through them, lined them up, and I thought this was going to be a technique, and this is the technique. And I go, whoa, that's when I learned not to seek approval.
Okay.
That's when I learned and realized if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing it right.
Right.
And I started to write these down, and the most important one, the first one, is that we're all unique and gifted. We have to claim that. I love this proverb, if I try to be like him, who will be me? It's a big responsibility.
It is.
And nobody else can do it for you.
Right.
And so I think I just love that, and it opens you. And often people will say, "I could never do that," and I said, "Well, you're not supposed to do that. I did that. You find your own voice." So I wrote them down, and now I hand them out in my studio and my gallery whenever I have visitors. And I have friends who say they're still in my refrigerator. People who come back, and these are on my website under creativity.
Right. Well, I have my own copy, which I keep in my big bag that I take to Karen Seward's to do art with. And I love the first one, which is I Am Unique. We kind of tend to forget that, some of us.
Absolutely.
We each have our own story, our own creative gift, and we need to honor that.
We do, and I think the realization that when I said this to the children, the teenagers, I said that there's nobody ever been you before, and there never will be again. That's your job.
To be you.
To be you. Gosh. And the possibilities are just endless, the ways to express ourselves and explore. But something
I love number 5, don't seek approval.
approval. Oh, that's huge.
Yes, it
That
is.
is so huge.
We're taught to seek approval in school
mm-hmm.
because we're trying to get good grades, or at least some
Right.
of us.
I read, when my son was little, I was reading about the 5 creativity stiflers in children, and there are 5 things that the school systems have to do. And surveillance, observation, grades, all the things
Right.
that keep you from coloring outside the lines,
Right,
which is
exactly.
where life
From
is.
experimenting.
Yeah. I think it was Henry David Thoreau who said, we need a wide margin in our lives.
Ah,
I love that because that's where you doodle.
right.
outside the constraints of what you have to do.
Well, as long as you brought Thoreau up, I wanted to share the quote that you shared with me. And Thoreau, of course, had male pronouns, but I changed it so that it's female pronouns. Thoreau said, "If a woman does not keep pace with her companions, perhaps it is because she hears a different drummer. Let her step to the music she hears, however measured or far away." Mm-hmm. And you obviously are hearing a different drummer because this work is unique. But of course you haven't decided to just do one kind of art. Mm-hmm. You branch out from.
Yeah.
But somehow it all seems like you.
It does feel like me. There's a feeling about it. I don't know if it's the whimsy.
I think it's the whimsy. Whimsy is the word.
Yeah. I think that makes it. My mother knew I was a little bit different when I was a child. I didn't fit in some of the slots, especially in school. I didn't fit in. And she bought that poster for me. And I had it on the back of my bedroom door for years to remind me that I needed to step to the music I hear.
Right.
And
well, you said she gave you the work ethic, which is,
yes.
That's enormous.
Yeah, that's farm
as well
life
as a sense
too.
of self-worth.
Yeah.
So those two things together.
And she gave me God, which is absolutely massively huge in my life, my understanding of that. So, we collect these treasures all along. I think there's a quote that I created sort of in myself, but I noticed the longer we're here, the more people we meet. They come, they go, and I discovered that we come at the right time. We come into one another's lives when we're ready for one another's gifts. And then we may part, but we take the gift, and we build on the gift, and we share the gift. So
maybe
we
should
going.
Be on the lookout for these gifts.
Yeah. And it's not, like this, all of it, suddenly everybody wanting the story of my life in the last 3 months. There's been another request. And I thought, wow, because I'm ready for it.
Right.
And we were talking about triggers. It's amazing. You asked me so many questions, and I gave you pages of answers because the questions triggered memories that were so strong. I think because of this process, I'm more and more appreciative of the life I've had.
Yes.
Because it made me look back and see.
And you mentioned that you might share the story of your life with your husband, your son, your grandchildren.
Yeah, right.
Who knows?
We're starting to do that more and more. Right. I think he's afraid. They finally realizing I won't be here forever, and I think that and you realize every once in a while I go, I have to ask my mom, and I go, nope, she's not here now. So I have to write it down if it's going to be important.
He's lucky. Do you want to say anything more about this?
Yes. This was a breakaway too. I was doing more, well, I'll call it traditional. It's traditional for me is...
just hold that up.
Yeah.
Because that's...
I do a lot of houses and barns and farms because I was raised on farm. But it's more villages. The camera's fun.
And what?
So that was more traditional, and this one, because it's based on the doodle drawing, it has a lot of my hand-dyed fabrics in it, and it's just a larger scale of pieces. It probably got to the truer me.
This one?
This one.
Okay.
This one was building on the farm life, on the past. This one is the silly. It's one of the life lessons is if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And that's a quote from Kay Kaiser back in the 40s.
Okay.
He was a musician, and it was just jumping and jiving all the time. He was the coolest guy. So, and that's how he saw life.
Okay.
And it's a great lesson.
I want to mention the fact that in addition to seeing the color on this piece, that you have used the sewing machine to make patterns. Mm-hmm. There is a swirl here, circle here, which gets bigger and bigger. It seems like every piece here has stitches that kind of enhance the particular area. This is yellow that blends into orange.
That's a hand-dyed piece of fabric, so you can do that when you're doing your hand-dye. We can explain quilt making too and how it works. I say I don't use the word for myself because it conjures up these bed coverings, which are beautiful, but that's just not what I do.
Can you share the the plan?
The plan. So this is an in-process piece, but I do them as I would be making a quilt, which is the top layer, a middle soft layer, and a backing. But when I'm creating the top layer, I make a drawing, and then I cut it all out. And it's like a puzzle. You put it back together again. And I've notched it so it's a cheating puzzle because it's got numbers that tell me which pieces go to each other.
Right.
But this is the assembly, and it allows you to, because it's freezer paper, and it heat sets on the back, and you cut it out, and then you peel the paper off. But it allows you to
now wait a minute. Is the freezer paper there?
Yes, that's
it still
freezer paper is still there.
Okay, I didn't get that.
Yeah,
it's
still there. You can peel it off.
So it allows you to write on it.
Write on it, and
it's on the back, so it's
not
going to show.
And it peels off, and when you're ready to put the batting and the backing inside, but then we sew on all the layers. And this piece is probably, this one shows a lot of really good layering.
Wait, can I take one end and you take the other of this?
And
we'll put it in front?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one, you can see the swirls running through. And I use free motion.
Oh my goodness, it's like you doodle on top of the fabric.
Doodle on top of it. And it's free motion quilting, which means I drop the feed dogs in my sewing machine and I use a darning foot. And it's as if you have a pencil and you're moving the paper under it.
Okay.
So it's working opposite, and it does take some training.
I'm sure it does.
Like 10,000 hours.
Okay.
It takes a long time, but it's just a fabulous, it's so much fun. There was a time when if you hand quilted something, it was a quilt, and if you didn't hand quilt it, it wouldn't be called a quilt. It wasn't legitimate. And I know the first exhibit in the early 1990s where the most prestigious gift award at an international competition was given to someone who machine quilted something.
Okay.
That was a huge change in the quilting world. Recognizing it as its possibilities, not always hanging on to its history. Mm-hmm. But a hand quilted piece will have every other stitch visible. Machine quilting, every stitch is visible. So you get that pattern on top of it, and you can just keep layering them on.
I think you have to get up close to your work to really see.
See the top
There's a bird here. There's a bird up there. There are leaves. The bicycles are there.
The bicycles are there.
Yes, the ubiquitous bicycles.
Also, all of my architecture is cattywampus, which means it's a little lopsided. And it was inspired by a trip to Spain. We took our son in 1996, I think, something like that. And we were in a cafe, and around the building were these drawings, and all of the architecture was lopsided, and which is the south of Spain. All the buildings look like they're holding each other up. That's their only safety. And I loved it because
it's asymmetrical. You don't have to worry.
It doesn't have
it real.
You do not have to answer reality, which means that anything you add to it can be unrealistic, but still representational.
Right.
It's way more fun to do.
It looks like you were having fun.
That's that rule. You're not having fun.
I don't want the show to end before we talk about the fact that you are on Route 7 in Brandon.
Right in Brandon. Mm-hmm. Just north of the village.
And it's 24
Conant Square, which
if you're going north from Rutland, it's on the left-hand side. You have a sign outside.
Yes.
You have a gallery you called it a massive old house, 200 years old.
Yes.
It is. It's huge.
People ask all the time, how old is the house? And I'll say, well, it depends where you're standing because it's been built forward.
Okay.
Which is, and it's I love it, except on cleaning day, but
I can't imagine.
It's just, you can't do it. Don't think about it.
Well, the gallery is downstairs as you go in.
Yes, sir.
And you have so many different things to share. So let's, Oh, JudithReilly.com.
Yes,
That's the website, and all your contact information is
Right,
there.
yes.
And you said you're not open regularly,
But happy to be opened by appointment or by chance.
okay.
Appointment is a really good idea. If you want to see the studio, I need to know that ahead of time, because when I'm creating, I'm in chaos. I think I was telling Mary,
Yeah.
chaos defined as having a really good time. And so it crawls in on me. It's not something I'm ready to see how messy I get.
I discovered you during an open studio
Yeah,
weekend.
open studio. I've done that for 21 years,
Yeah.
the Memorial Day weekend open
Right.
studio. And it's delightful. It's just,
It is delightful.
It's just a wonderful experience.
Well, I encourage anybody who would like to see Judith's art and her studio, if it's not messy, to go to JudithReilly.com and get her contact
Yeah,
info.
good.
All right, let's talk about these paper
The
mache.
paper mache pieces, yeah. Yeah, it started with this dear friend, and
Oh, it started with this.
it started with Joan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
With Joan Curtis.
Yes, and this was a long time ago that I took my first class with her. Then a couple summers ago, I went back with my grandson Sam, because we were looking for an art project. He's like me; he just he gobbles it up, and we went.
How lucky you are to have a grandson who wants
Wow, that's so
to
cool.
art.
I have more grandchildren that are willing to do it too. They grew up in my studio whenever they'd come. That if a child was missing, you knew they were upstairs in the studio. And that when they left, it was, marker caps and confetti all over the floor. It was wonderful. It was wonderful fun. But Sam and I locked into this, and we spent a week and a half. Whenever we weren't doing something else, we were making this. We had a wonderful time. It was really fun.
Well, there are a few things here that we haven't shared yet.
Yeah, right.
You make travel journals,
Yeah.
and they are a combination of writing and
Right.
creating.
I counted them a couple days ago. I've got 17 of them right
And they
now.
are they're fascinating.
This is my favorite one. It's Paris in 2011, and my earliest one I found was 1970 when I went to Austria, and these were collage, and you just flip, and look. If you're in Paris, there's a little bicycle, but if you get into the countryside, now we've rented a car.
And a lot of that is cutouts that you glue on,
Yes,
right?
it's brochures I
it-
picked up along the way.
Right.
And it's true. It's just
Anybody could do
yes,
that.
anybody could do it. And you need to know that if you need a glue stick in France, you have to go to a tobacco store.
Okay.
which is
All right.
hard. But those are really fun. Something else, my son has helped us get product. So if you go to my website, you will see a link to a page where you can find images of some of my work.
And here are some of what you'll see in Judith's gallery.
Gallery, yes. Well, yes. And then we have a little bit more time. I'm counting down. I've also worked with Chandler Four Corners down in Manchester, Vermont, and they are an accent rug company. And I started with them in 2011. And I only have a few things in their catalog now, but these
Okay.
little hook
And this
pillows.
will be the end.
Yeah.
It has been wonderful. I think we've hit on everything you do.
That I brought.
Thank you for agreeing to be on.
Oh,
It
it's
has
been
been
really
wonderful.
fun.
It
You
has
said
been.
it would be fun, and it was fun.
It is. Thank you so much for watching.